So just to give you a brief introduction of myself and our organization again, my name is Lily, and our organization is SWIS Africa, or Shaping African Women in STEM. So basically, just what we do in a brief summary would be more like celebrating women like yourself who have made these strides and achievements in various STEM fields, because also like our team lead mentioned, that there are younger women who are coming up and they don't necessarily see a lot of people, a lot of African women or women in these positions, and they're not sure if this is something they should do, if this is something they should pursue. So having stories like yours now being celebrated on our platform, it also gives them a chance, to see that other women have gone ahead and they've done this, and this is something that is achievable.
Yes.
That is some of what our organization does. We also do have webinars as well that we host, and these webinars may be talking about scholarships or how to navigate applying or admissions to different programs, both in graduate and undergraduate studies as well in US and Canada. That was one of the ones that we had, I believe it was last year. And we did have one recently as well about mentorship and the role of mentorship in STEM as well, and for women too. And even though we are focusing mainly on African women, this organization, we are open to African men, we're open to men, just everyone, the whole demographic. So we're here just to shine a light on the success that people have made before, wonderful women like yourself, and also to empower those who are coming up that this is something that is possible to achieve.
Yeah, it's true.
All right. So just to get right ahead to it, maybe have a brief introduction of yourself and how you got into mathematics.
Okay. My name is Fadekemi Osaye. Most people just call me Janet, and Janet is my middle name. So I was born in Lagos. I grew up in Lagos. I did my primary school and secondary education in Lagos, and then after that, I studied at the Federal University of Technology in Accra, and I studied industrial mathematics. After my NYC, I worked briefly for like a year in a private secondary school in Lagos. And then obviously I got tired because I would love to start further my education. And then I decided to go on and start a master's program at same university that I finished my first degree, which is the Federal University of Technology in Accra. So I already spent a year, and then I found out about a scholarship called AIMS, African Institute for Mathematical Sciences. And then they have centers in South Africa. They have one in Senegal. There's one in Ghana. They also have one in Rwanda right now. I think they have about 5 centers, and there's one in Cameroon. So they have those 5 centers, and I've decided to go for the one in Ghana because it's closer to Nigeria, and I have my family, I have my husband and my kids in Nigeria then, and I really just wanted to further. So the scholarship covers everything, and it was for 1 year, and I decided to just live there, and so I was able to go from Ghana to Nigeria back and forth, and that was my story. After then, I went to South Africa, did another master's, and studied for a PhD. But out of all of these, for me, I think my interest and the passion that I have for math was the driving force. I was just interested in solving maths, basically. I used to have a teacher in primary school that ignited my passion at some point. He will give us very hard questions, and then he'll say, oh, go and solve it. When you come back, you give us 1 naira, 2 naira, And every time you give us those questions, I will take it home, go and meet those big brothers that I have and tell them, solve this, explain it to me. And the man looked at him one day and said, don't worry, you are going to go far. We used to call him uncle, So that was it. And I just knew I wanted to study maths. And I believe that the vision that I had for myself and the interest that I have in it was mainly the driving force that kept me going. And one can always build on your present level. So you can't go on to do a PhD if you haven't completed a master's. And you cannot do a master's if you have not done a bachelor's degree, except maybe you are studying in a country like America, where you can go directly from bachelor's degree to a PhD. But there are always levels to this thing. And I'll say that's who I am.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to this interview.
Yeah.
So for you mentioned you studied industrial mathematics.
Yes.
That's so interesting. So what scenarios do they apply industrial mathematics in?
So basically, maths encompasses a whole lot of stuffs. There are like two sides to math. There is the pure part and there is the applied part, and I've done both. So the curriculum, the industrial math, is basically applied to anything you can think of. Right now, I do disease modeling, right? We can predict whether there's going to be an outbreak of a disease. We can predict whether this in this community tuberculosis is going to disappear, those kind of things. And math is just like the foundation. There are other branches to it. Under math, you can become an actuarist, you can become a data scientist, you can become a statistician, you can become, there are several things. You can even become an econometrics. I have a friend that we also both did PhD in math, and he's a pharmacometrician, which means he models drugs for pharmacological pharmacological companies that produce drugs. So you can find mathematicians everywhere. You know, the industrial maths also encompasses a field called systems engineering. Or right now, you can see the advent of like machine learning, artificial intelligence. The foundation of all of that is basically maths. Like you can really not become a machine engineer or a deep computer scientist without being a mathematician. And you can work anywhere. I worked in a bank in Nigeria before I went on for my master's. And is applicable to anything you can think of, whether in agriculture or in health or in medicine. Math is basically everywhere. And right now that we now have AI and data scientists and all of that, every other field is trying to align themselves with data science and machine learning in general. So it's just like the foundation for everything.
Wow, I didn't realize how many endless possibilities math
Yes,
had.
there are ways you you can be anything with with a degree in math. You can.
That's wonderful. So with your current field, you said you're currently working at um calculating the how if there would be an outbreak. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I don't know the exact term for it,
Mm.
but
So my research area, while I also teach math um, to students, I also do some research. And the research side of what I do is called networks generally. A lot of people call networks. Networking meaning you can find network in every area. Facebook, all the social media, their foundation is basically network because there's some connection. Everywhere you have some entities and you have connections between them, that is a network. So we have biological networks in our body, there are neurons in our body that transmit food, water, and all of those things. You have transportation networks, like airlines, you can model things like that. So as long as there is some kind of network, there is always something to model. So you can model diseases as well. So I also model disease with networks, and especially diseases that can be transmitted, like tuberculosis, maybe COVID-19, diseases that you can transmit from one person to the other, as long as you have some connection between them. We use math right now to do that, to model those kind of things.
okay. And what inspired you to go into disease modeling as your research?
Honestly, I wasn't doing disease modeling until COVID-19, right? But the beauty of math is that it's everywhere, basically, right? If you're a mathematician, you should be able to apply. And some people just choose to model it, to use math to model something in like transportation. I've also modeled something on animal migration. That is not diseases. We can tell if some animals are going to go into extinction at some point in time. So because they live in some habitats, and those habitats, there are some connections called like bridges that link one habitat to the other. So, and there are different areas of math. What I'm doing is just like a pinch of salt from the ocean. It's very, very minute. Because with one of the things with knowledge is that the more you know, the more you realize that you actually know nothing, you know, and that's the truth.
Wow. And what would you say are some of the challenges that you faced getting into the mathematics field, and how did you overcome some of these challenges?
Um, Basically, for me as a woman, one of the challenges one will face generally, whether in math or not, is just your ability to navigate, to balance up your family, the responsibilities you have between that and your career. Because the study of math requires a lot of mental balance. You need to be balanced mentally. It is not the same with field like maybe biology or chemistry, where you have to go into the lab and you can still mix things up. With math, your mind must be at peace. So you have to be able to be a critical thinker. And challenges that for me has been the critical part is the ability to navigate that. And like I said earlier, one thing that have helped me all through is the passion and the interest that I have in it. Because sometimes you just want to get tired. I had an experience. There was a time I was solving a problem. Then I was still a PhD student, and I've solved this problem for weeks, months. It was going to almost like 4 months. And one day I just told myself, no, I'm tired, and I just put it aside because math problems can be quite challenging. You are supposed to come up with new ideas that are not very common. No one must have done it before you can publish it. And I just got tired, and decided to take a walk. I knew that it was something easy, but I wasn't getting it, and I just left it that way and then took a walk, came back, and imagine something that I've struggled for months to solve. And I was like, imagine this thing that I've struggled solving for 4 months. And then here I am able to solve it with, sometimes you want to get tired, but one of the things is you must learn to take a break when it's necessary. You also need the support of your loved ones if you want to go far. You need to be able to surround yourself with people that matters. You need mentors as well. Some of the challenges that I face, ability to be able to have people to discuss with, especially if people in your field. If you have people that are probably ahead of you, you want to discuss with them. Sometimes they might give you just a tip, we solve a problem. One of the things that we do in this part of the world that is probably not common in Nigeria is going for conferences, meeting people. You see those type of gathering where you just go there and sit down and you talk, you discuss, you bring your problems. They were really helpful during my period, during my PhD. And up to now, I can tell you one of the things that have also helped me is being under people that matters to you, people that have been there, mentors, like you said. So I will call them mentors. I had a PhD supervisor that was very supportive, you know, and after that, I put myself out there because opportunities will probably just not come with you. You have to make them know that you are interested in some things. Put yourself there, go for conferences, meet new people, challenge yourself, even when it doesn't look like it's going to come out positively. You just want to put yourself there. So challenges will always come, but having it in mind that no matter what comes my way, I must scale through is the mindset we must always have.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And what would you say are some of the stereotypes you may have encountered through any of your studies, be it
Mhm.
the one in Johannesburg or the one in Alabama or Nigeria? What what would you say are some stereotypes that you faced? And yeah,
Yeah. Stereotypes comes like in different forms. Like, really, you are studying maths? You know, those kind of comments, right? How can you be a woman and be studying math? I've gotten that a lot. And honestly speaking, it's you have to make up your mind. And one of the things I like about Nigerians is that we really don't care what people say. You just want to be there and do your thing. You know, in South Africa, of course, there are xenophobic comments and those kind of a thing. And for me, I knew then that I was probably not going to stay long in that environment because I want to be in a place where I am appreciated for who I am, you know. And it was a lovely place because I studied on scholarship and the government also funded my education. So that's one of the things I really love about the environment. But when it comes to being a woman, you know, rather than being stereotyped, if I would put it that way, I feel like I get more support for being a woman, doing some things instead. Right? Of course, I would definitely be stereotyped because I remember when I came to work in America for the first time, I was working at Auburn University. And when I came, I was their first Black woman in the department. They've had other women that are from different races, they have Chinese, and it was challenging. I struggled for a while to fit in, if I put it that way. And my first encounter was like, okay, I'm in a department, and somehow everyone that was new was invited to like a luncheon, and they forgot me, you know. And then a day to that, the head of the department said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We decided to meet at this time and to welcome you guys that are new." And I wasn't really angry about it. I just understood that they were also trying to get used to the fact that they are probably having a Black woman for the first time, you know. So stereotypes will always be there. And when you go into a new environment and new society, one of the things we need to get used to is you want to study those people. Our culture, our beliefs, and our systems are different across the board. The way I interacted in South Africa is different from the way Americans behave. And the university systems here are completely different, right? You'll be in a department, there are sometimes you meet Chinese people, you have Indians, we have people from different countries, right? You want to take your time and not just take everything they say as being insulting. So rather than get angry over some comment or some characters and some attitude, you just want to use that opportunity to learn and to build yourself up and to prepare for better places that you probably find yourself.
okay. Great. And also you did mention that you went to South Africa on a scholarship and also
Yes.
government funding. So would you say that there are particular sites that people should be visiting for this, or are there particular places they should be going, or
Mm.
is it something that is readily accessible?
So when I was going to South Africa, I had studied at AIMS, Ghana, and the organization itself had some universities that they had collaboration with. So that was my first step, and they will pay your fee for the first year, you know. And that was how I ended up in South Africa. So AIMS had collaboration with some universities in not just in South Africa, in several countries in Africa, in Ghana, in South Africa. And so the university that I attended first was a university that had collaboration with them. So they already agreed that, oh, every student that finished from AIMS and comes here, they pay like a 50-50 thing. So the university pay part of it, and then the institution, AIMS itself, pays the remaining 50%. And so, but afterwards, you have to look for, they will also provide you with opportunities where you apply for. They have connections with some government, like the German government, the Canadian government. So they have what they call the DAT scholarship, right? So they also have some German, also other German scholarships, some Canadian scholarships that they offer to AIM students in general. But aside from that, right, as a person, the internet is there. Make use of it as you like. For me, sometimes I just randomly go online and check online and Google and say, oh, even when I'm not looking for a job, sometimes I just want to try if I can right now get a bigger position. I started a new position this August. I wasn't planning on leaving. Out of curiosity, I was like, oh, I think I'm actually qualified for this position. And I saw the thing online on Google and I just put in my information there. And I was like, okay, if God wants me to go for this job, then this is what I want. If they don't give it to me, I'm okay where I am. Sometimes you don't just wait for people to provide the opportunity. It is available, especially in places like Ricky. You can just look for opportunities and apply, right? And put your information out there. There are a lot of opportunities that are available. And while you are waiting for those opportunities, keep building yourself. Don't say, oh no, if I don't get this, then I'm not going to move. I'm just going to stay stagnant. How I got to the US was in my second year of PhD. I was just curious. And I started looking online and said, oh, workshop or summer school in graph theory. That was it. And I saw one and then I put in my information. And when they decided to get in touch, they contacted my supervisor then. And they were actually looking for students, right? And told my supervisor, oh, they negotiated with my supervisor to bring all of his students. And meanwhile, I was the one that applied and they were looking for a professor in that field. So they gave us an opportunity to bring all the PhD students that he had. And we were 2 at the time. And that was how I became a part of the organization. They call it SAMSA. It is Southern African Mathematical Association, something like that. Afterwards, I just don't sit down to say, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to say this. So when I was completing my PhD, I had started applying for different positions, And one of those positions was I applied to the Auburn University that I came to say, okay, maybe I should go and do a PhD in statistics. And of course, I have met a lot of people from the US too, because the organization that I belong to, they usually come from like Europe and the US every time to attend those conferences and workshops. So I was already used to them. We meet like once in a year, and they meet in like different parts of Southern African countries. And so in one of those conferences, I met one of the chairs and he was like, oh, are you not interested in coming to my school anymore? I said, well, I don't understand why you guys will be asking me to write an English test. I'm a Nigerian and we speak English in Nigeria. So if you guys really want me, then you will not ask me to write an English test. And I said, oh, okay, don't worry, we will look at it. And that was it. And they told me, okay, since you finish your PhD, our school has like open positions. You can come in for a postdoc or you can become an assistant professor. And that was it. We had a conversation. They went back to the US. And before I know it, they sent me an offer letter. That was how I landed in the US. So for me, it's more about just don't keep quiet. Mentorship. Put yourself out there and communicate with people. Let them know your mind. And while you are communicating, be building yourself up. Let them see what you want. Because trust me, organizations are looking for competent people, but you also have to be competent to be able to put yourself out there.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you. Your story is really, really inspiring. And just for the sake of those who would watch this video, could you just reiterate what the meaning of AIMS is?
Oh, AIMS is called African Institute for Mathematical Sciences. They do only master's program. They have several programs right now, some programs in machine learning, and they do have some immersion programs, but it's basically you must have done a bachelor's degree in math related field. It could be in physics, you could have done it in math or statistics or anything math related, you know, and it's fully funded basically. They fund your, if you want to further your education. I don't know if it has changed now, but during my time, they actually funded part of my trip to South Africa.
Wow, that's nice. Um, okay, so do you have any final words of advice or encouragement for those in maybe secondary school, in high school, or undergrad, or those just starting out in maths and also STEM as well?
Okay, so I'm just going to say this in general. One of the things I've noticed is that most people have phobia for math. They simply just say, "Oh, I don't like math," you know. And it is important for you to know where you are going. Like, don't just go to college and say, "Oh, I'm going to the university because everyone is going to the university." Whatever your passion is, if it is just one thing that you are interested in, put in your best in it. If you want to be a mathematician or you want to study math, ignore whatever anyone is saying and tell you, "Oh, you will be a math teacher if you study math." There are, of course, there's some environment might probably want to constrain you. And even though I studied math, I did interview with NNPC. I did interview with the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And there was one other, UNESCO as well, you know. So math is not just you studying math to be a teacher. Right now, especially everywhere in the world, math is like the center of attraction. Even people that study something else want to become a mathematician because there are jobs of being, you want to be an actuarist. These are high-paying jobs that people don't even know. I want to become a data scientist. You cannot be a data scientist, even in Nigeria, and look for a job, you know. And while you are going to school, because sometimes our university system probably doesn't develop you fully, you also have to develop yourself, learn how to code, learn to program, study outside the box. If you want to go to school, make sure that you are doing it with the whole of your mind and aim for the best. There are scholarships that will give you direct PhD with a very good GPA from Nigeria. If you have a 4.0 out of a 4.0 or something, like maybe when is evaluated, you have like a 3.5. There are universities in America that will give you full scholarship directly with a PhD. You don't even have to go on to do a master's. But it starts with you having the qualification first, you know. And for me, I just want to tell anyone out there, I also do have an organization. It's called SWIS Africa. So I mentor students and basically from high school to let them see the beauty that is in maths, you know, and the things you can do if you become a mathematician. There are organizations that are looking for you that will be invested in your passion. And I'll just encourage anyone, that thing that you want to do it with all of your heart and make sure that you are the best in it. And I can tell you, you can't be below, and be open to opportunities as well. Because it is not enough to have a good score. If you close yourself and you don't open yourself to opportunities and build positive relationships, those opportunities can die off. And we don't want that, you know. So that would be my advice for anyone out there.
Thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Osaye, and even for allowing us to hear your amazing story. It's truly been like a trailblazing moment, really. Thank you. So this would bring us to the end of the interview. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so much for having me as well. Thank you
okay.
so much.
And would it be okay if we share your organization, Girlmatics, with people who might be interested in reaching out to you?
Oh, sure. I've for a while, because of my movement and me not being stable in the place, we've not been actually able to like continue with some of the programs. So what I usually do is have in collaboration with like some high schools in Nigeria, in Ghana. I did some in South Africa. And what we just simply do is we go give them talks. let those kids right from like maybe in middle school, basically call like junior high school in Nigeria, talk to them in basically STEM, particularly the girls, and what they can do moving forward. Those are the things I would do. Right now, the organization is still on. I can share more information about it with you. And we are just simply trying to move forward a little bit because it's something that I've not been very active with for a while. But
Okay.
we are open to you sharing it.
Okay, thank you so much. So you can reply to the email that we sent with the meeting in link and questions as well. You can reply to that email with the information, and we would also I would discuss with the team, and we would see if we could put it under the YouTube description of this video so that those who would like to connect with you can also connect with you that way.
Okay, that would be great.
Okay.
It's nice having you guys. You guys are doing a wonderful job. You see, because I can understand what it takes to mentor people. It's a lot. I've been there, and trust me, at some point, I was so much involved with like family issues and my job that I rarely have time for that. And coupled with the fact that I was moving a lot, at some point, I wasn't sure if I was going to be in the US or stay in South Africa. But right now that I'm a bit stabilized, things is going to pick up, and doing what you're doing, I will encourage you to keep up with it. You trust me, you don't know how many lives you are going to save with this kind of program that you're running.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.